Let me ask you this. Remember when making films that look professional meant renting or buying expensive camera equipment? When getting a single cinematic camera movement coordinating with a camera operator and crew members just to execute one smooth tracking shot? When the barrier between you and Hollywood quality production wasn't talent or vision, but simply access to resources? Well, I'm here to tell you those days are over. Today I'm showing you something that's giving Hollywood executives heartburn as we speak, and that's Higgsfield's new motion control technology. This is what finally solves the equipment and technical barriers independent filmmakers have faced for decades. Coming from traditional independent filmmaking myself, I know exactly what we've been up against. You had to somehow find money for equipment, talent, locations, and crew who could help execute those cinematic camera movements that separate amateur-looking footage from professional productions. But take a look at this footage.
We built it to show us who we really are. But we didn't like the answer. So we asked it again and again until the question stopped making sense. It wasn't a glitch. It was exactly what we asked for.
This wasn't shot with expensive sliders, jibs, or stabilizers that cost thousands to buy or rent. I created this on my computer at home without a crew, without location permits, and it has the same cinematic language that used to be Hollywood's exclusive territory. Higgsfield just dropped a revolutionary set of tools that gives you over 50 professional camera movements with a single click. We're talking dolly shots, crash zooms, overhead tracking, bullet time effects, all the techniques that used to separate amateur from professional filmmaking. And here's what's really cool. Now everyone can make movies like the pros do. You can do all the things you'd see on a real film set, getting amazing camera shots, perfect lighting, and direct your own movie all without leaving your house. No more spending thousands on gear, no more needing a whole team of people, no more asking Hollywood big shots for permission to make your film. In this video, I'm walking you through exactly how Higgsfield works, showing you how to create these cinema quality movements, and demonstrating how you can use this to finally compete with the studios that have ignored independent creators for decades. The AI filmmaking revolution isn't just saving you money, it's completely rewriting the rules of what's possible from the comfort of your home. And with tools like Higgsfield, we're not just matching Hollywood quality, we're creating a whole new playing field where they don't get to make the rules anymore. Let's get into it. What's going on, everyone? My name is Paul Donis Maximus. Thanks for checking out the AI Filmmaking Advantage, where here we talk about how to make and monetize AI filmmaking. And as the mantra of this channel indicates, if you are also interested in learning how to not only make, but to also be able to monetize your AI film productions so that you can in fact pay for AI filmmaking and set yourself up to potentially go full-time with AI filmmaking, doing what you love, giving Hollywood heartburn, all from the comfort of your home, then be sure to check out the AI Cinematographer's Midjourney Playbook, where I'm actually going to teach you how to direct AI like a pro. So again, if you think about it, we're taking all of the elements of actual filmmaking to where you can do all of the things that you would do on a film set, things like lighting, casting, cinematography, and directing, without having to actually show up on a film set. And after teaching you how to direct AI like a pro, we're going to actually show you how to monetize what you're doing so that this could potentially become something that you do full time. And the combination of this solves the holy grail of traditional filmmaking, which is how to solve for the broke filmmaker conundrum. If any of you are familiar with traditional independent filmmaking, which is what I come from, not only did you have to solve for how to pay for the equipment that you needed to make your films, pay your cast members so they actually show up for your film on the day of the shoot, put aside some money for locations so that you're not shooting your film out of your mother's basement, and all of the other miscellaneous things like travel and catering, you still had to solve for how to make money with anything you were doing without having to spend a lot of money on money pit film festivals or trying to secure desperate pitch meetings with industry gatekeepers who don't want to talk to you anyway, hoping to have secure distribution for your film, or God forbid, doing something even more desperate like trying to rent your film for $2.99 cents video on demand, or having people pay you $9.99 video on demand, when most traditional indie filmmakers can't even get 1,000 people to watch their films for free, let alone get 1,000 people to give them any money for their productions. So again, the bonus training in the AI Cinematographer's Midjourney Playbook is going to solve for this, for AI filmmaking, in a very practical step-by-step fashion. If you want to get in on this training for a low introductory price as we continue to build it out, then be sure to scan the QR code on your screen or click the link below this video to learn more. Okay guys, so the first thing you're going to see when you go to Higgsfield.ai is this page right here that lists all of the various motion controls. I believe there are at least 50 plus. They've actually added some brand new ones. And I'm not going to run through every single different motion control that they have on this page, but you could definitely come here, scroll down, get an idea of what each motion control does without actually having to burn credits to figure that out yourself, which is actually refreshing. You'll also see that you can click this load more button and you'll see even more examples. Some of the examples will be of the same motion control, but again, you will get a very good idea of what you can do with this software just by previewing all of the examples that they have here for you to check out. Now, before you can begin to create any videos with their platform, you're going to have to select a plan, and they do offer a free trial, and you find that on the pricing page. And with the free trial, you get 25 credits, and unfortunately, since each video generation is 10 credits each, that only gives you enough to make 2 videos, but at least you can get an idea of how your generations will look in case you have any doubts about the quality of the video generations, which are fairly decent. Now, I myself, I have the monthly plan, and I'm on the ultimate plan, which gives you 150 video generations and 3,000 plus image generations. I honestly don't use their platform for creating images. As you guys know, 99% of my images I create within Midjourney, with the one remaining percentage either being Flux or Mystique, both of which I use via FreePick. And again, you can come down here and see what all you get based on each package. They mention 20 plus generations for the first month. Honestly, I never saw that, so I don't know how that actually works. Once I ran out of credits, I had to buy more, and I don't remember any bonus credits sitting on top of the plan that I got. If you have questions about that, I would recommend you jump into their Discord server and ask them directly. Honestly, I wasn't too worried about it because I was able to get a great deal of good generations without using a ton of credits. There was a point to where it did seem that the prompt adherence went off the rails, and it is a bit still wonky. But what I found is that your video generations are going to greatly depend on 2 things, and we're going to jump into that right now. So once you select the free plan, or you pick one of these plans right here, you're going to want to go to the Create tab. And again, if you're wanting to make images with their software, you'd click this tab right here, and it walks you through exactly how to do that. I'm not going to demonstrate that in this video because, again, I bring all of my images from Midjourney over into their platform because I already know what I want to create. So with that, I'm going to click on the Image to Video tab, and this is where we're going to get into talking about what I just mentioned about how your generations will turn out based on 2 things. The first thing is this: you have to make sure that the shot that you select gives you room to be able to execute what you're trying to achieve. For instance, with this image right here, it was a dolly out video effect, and absolutely there's plenty of room for that to take place, as you can see with this image right here. And we'll get into more of that in just a bit because I do want to make sure that you guys understand how to actually get started with their software out the gate. But the second thing is going to be highly dependent on the prompt you use. Now, what I found is that you can give it some direction, but it's best to always leave this enhance on. And what's going to happen is, as you see right over here, their AI is already figuring out what your scene is, and it will add in some of the direction that you gave it. So again, sometimes I will come here and I will say something like slow dolly out, and then once the prompt takes it, it will weave in some of the direction you gave it, such as where it says as the camera steadily pulls away. So again, pin both of those things. We'll come back to them in a minute, but let's continue to talk about how to actually get started with generating videos. Obviously, you'll want to click upload image. So so that you can bring in the image that you want to turn into a video. And I'm going to bring in this image because I want to use this one as a demonstration as an image that could potentially give you problems because of that issue I talked about with having enough room for the effect to do its thing. So you bring in your image, and another important thing that you need to know about bringing in your images is that the image dimensions should be no less than 1280 by 720 and no more than 3840 by 2160. Oftentimes in their Discord server, I'd see people complaining about the image not uploading, and I actually ran into that problem when I uploaded this image right here, and that was because the image itself, which I upscaled in FreePic using the Magnific upscaler, it made the image too large. It was like 5,000 something by something. As you can see right here, I upscaled it ×4, and when I tried to bring that image into Higgsfield, it would not upload. So what I ended up doing as a workaround is I went into Canva, and then I put this image on a 3840 by 2160 canvas, which is 4K, downloaded the image that way, and then I didn't have any problems with importing the image into Higgsfield. So keep that in mind. If you have an image that's way too big, a good workaround is to use something like Canva to resize it to anywhere between 3840 by 2160 on the high end to as low as 1280 by 720 on the low end. Which brings me to another thing briefly. The output of their videos as of this video is only 1280 by 704. So again, just so we're clear, you're not going to get a 1080p video generation. You're not going to get a 4K generation. You're not even going to get a 720p generation. It's going to be 1280 by 704. But if you have something like Topaz Labs Video AI, which is what I have, you can easily take your video clip into Topaz Labs and then upscale it to 4K from there. And that's exactly what I did with the trailer that you saw at the beginning of this video. The next thing you're going to want to do is decide on the video effect that you want to use. And the way you do that is to click change right here. You can either scroll through here and select the shots that you want, or you can try searching for them with the search bar. Now, again, we come back to something that I talked about earlier. You have to make sure that you're selecting video effects that actually make sense for your scene. For instance, would this crash zoom in tentacle shot work for this image? I highly doubt it. If you notice, this shot works best when you're looking straight on to the character itself. Same thing with this one right here. Would it make sense to use a car grip shot on a scene like this? I highly doubt it. Would a 360 orbit shot work on this scene? Possibly, but if you notice, not all of her legs are in this scene, which means the AI is going to hallucinate on what the rest of her looks like, which is what I actually found out when I tried something like that. So I would say probably some of the best shots that would work for this particular scene would definitely be dolly zoom out, dolly zoom in, possibly dolly right. But again, as you see, there's not much space on this other side of this image, so the AI is going to hallucinate what the rest of that scene looks like. So again, I'm not going to go through every single scenario on which shot should work for this particular shot, because again, depending on what you're uploading, it's going to greatly determine if the shot actually comes out correctly. Another thing they've added is this mix feature. So this allows you to add more than one video effect, and basically you can add up to 2. So the shot that you select, and then something like a second motion, which also needs to make sense. So this dolly zoom out would potentially work with this disintegration effect because the 2 shots are not competing with one another. And what I mean is that this is an effect happening to the character, but there's no dolly out and 360 motion, which could potentially work. And actually, we'll just roll that and see how that turns out. And what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to try a prompt that one of the people from Higgsfield gave me in their Discord server that actually didn't work, but the prompt makes sense, so maybe it would have worked at some point. So I'm going to let the video motion do its thing and focus more on the person turning to dust and disappearing. Now, I don't ever really change the percentages, which is what you can do on the effects. So if you want this weighted more than this right here, and actually let's just experiment with it. Let's say that we want this to be more of a thing than the dolly out, but actually I don't want to put it at 100% because then maybe it doesn't give us a dolly out. So I'll put it at 90% to say that I want this this effect to be prioritized more over the actual dolly effect. And again, you could turn the enhance prompt on or off. I found that it is better to keep enhance on, and I've actually seen other creators say the same thing. So we'll leave that there. And then you have this option down here to where you can change the duration. As of this video, the most you can do is 5 seconds. So that's what we're going to leave it as. And then this, I don't ever do anything with. It says seed. That's the seed of whatever the shot is going to be, but I just leave it at auto, and I'm just going to click generate. Now, as we wait for this thing to generate, I am going to mention that if you're using the free plan, if you're doing the free trial, those generations are going to take much longer than the generations for people on the paid plans. As far as how long it takes on the paid plans, I don't actually sit here with a timer to keep track of it, but they have shortened the duration significantly than how it was when I first got started, when they really opened this up to everyone a few days ago. Oftentimes I'd hit the generate button and then I'd start looking on X or scrolling through Facebook or something, and then by the time I look up, the video's already been generated. Also, another tip, if for some reason it seems like the video generation is taking too long, what we found, and I say we meaning other people in the Discord server who've also been testing out this tool, is to hit the refresh button, and then you'd find that your generation has already generated. So again, that's another tip. If a generation seems like it's taking way too long, just hit the refresh button, and then there's a good chance it may have already generated. Okay, again, I just walked away from my computer to check my phone and walked back, and it's already generated. Let's see how this turned out. Actually, that turned out pretty good on the first roll. How about that? Again, as you can see, not only did we get the dolly out effect, we also got the woman disappearing. If the shot had been longer, like 10 seconds, then I'd imagine we'd have more of a disappearing effect. And that's something that I've also mentioned to the Higgsfield team in the Discord server, that in order for this disintegration effect to work really good, we're definitely going to need more than 5 seconds. Now, this was an instance where the prompt adherence was spot on. Again, you saw I left the enhance on, I gave it a bit of direction, and then I'm going to try to find in here where it integrated my direction. It says ethereal light glimmers in the visor, enhancing the surreal transition as she fades from view. Finally, the dolly out reveals a once bustling capsule, now eerily vacant, blah, blah, blah. So again, I like the fact that the software knows exactly everything about your scene, and the prompting that it gives you is not just some gibberish. And I will say, for the most part, you will get what you're looking for in 1 or 2 rolls, but there was a time where the prompt adherence did go off the rails for a bit. And I'll show you that as I scroll down to it. But one of the other things that I've given as feedback to the Higgsfield team is that we're definitely going to need a better way to view past generations, because as of right now, you have to completely scroll through all of your past generations to get to something that you may have done in the past. We're definitely going to need some kind of gallery view or foldering so that you're not doing this infinite scroll all the way back to generations that you did weeks ago. And to just show you more examples of what I mean about making sure that you match the correct video motion with what's going on in your scene, this right here was the dolly right motion control, and this is how this image turned out. And again, as you can see, the AI is kind of filling in what it thinks is happening on the right hand side of the screen, because it does not have that information to start with. But one of the things that I will mention about this scene is it does seem very compressed. So the AI honestly doesn't have a lot to work with. So with this particular scene, I used a general scene, and I used the 360 orbit, and I gave it my own prompt. And when I did this, I turned the enhance off. So if you really want to just give it your own prompt, then you need to turn enhance off. But again, I would highly recommend that you leave enhanced on. For this platform, it just happens to work perfectly with letting them fill in the prompt details. But again, this says the camera follows her as she floats forward through the interior of the space station. And as you see, there's a lot of morphing going on, and she kind of swings around, and her legs look very funny because, as we saw in the start frame, the AI doesn't have that information. The one beneath that is using the exact same motion controls, where I used the general and the 360 orbit. And again, the shot starts off okay, but her legs again start to shrink, and that just doesn't look like a good shot at all. So that's something that you're going to have to be on the lookout for. This particular shot where I just used the general motion control feature, I just wanted a tracking shot, so I said the camera follows her as she floats forward through the interior of the space station. Pretty much the exact same prompt that I used for these other two up here. And this one actually didn't turn out too bad, especially not having the rest of the details on the left hand side. So that could definitely work. So all of these are just things that you would need to keep in mind. And I'm kind of keeping with this same image because I rolled it multiple times throughout my testing of this. As you can see right here, this was a flying effect. And just as you would think, it made it look very crazy because that flying effect doesn't match this scene whatsoever. And even though I added the prompt tracking camera, she floats forward through the inside of the station, you see that we got this craziness to where the space station just disappears and she starts floating around in space, which doesn't make sense at all. And here's one where I use that 360 orbit effect by itself. And again, we're talking about the limitations, the confines of this particular shot. The AI's got to do a lot of work, even though I gave it the prompt slow camera orbit. And as you can see, it turned out horrendously. There's lots of morphing going on, and that shot just doesn't work whatsoever. But again, the AI has very limited amount of space to work with what you're trying to tell it to do. And I know it sounds repetitive, but I just want to keep harping on the fact that if you're getting bad shots, it's likely because you're not using the appropriate effect that would work for that particular shot. Or you can try the effect that you want and then leave the enhance on for the prompt. But honestly, I think you're still going to run into the same problem because you're not going to use something like a flying effect in this particular scene, no matter if you have the prompt enhancer on or not. And I want to show you one more thing. This was one of those instances where I told the team that, there was something definitely going on with the prompt adherence a day or two ago that changed from when I signed up from the platform, because I was getting scenes to where it seemed like the AI was trying to mimic the actual camera movement itself in terms of the actual character trying to perform the camera movement. As you see this prompt I use right here, it says she slowly strides forward with a determined look, and the camera movement effect is 360 orbit. But as you can see right here, the actual character herself is trying to perform the 360 orbit where she's spinning around, and she definitely didn't start with a handbag in her hand, but that's what it turns out to be. So there's that. And that actually happened a few times. So you see right here, I didn't give it a prompt. I just said, hey, let's see what the AI comes up with. And if you're going to try to do no prompt generations, you need to have enhance off. Otherwise, it's going to fill it in. And here again, the AI character is performing the 360 spin. And even with the enhance prompt on and running that same 360 orbit movement, this image right here did the same thing to where she was spinning around on her heels, trying to mimic the actual camera movement. But I've not seen anything crazy like that since. And maybe the AI thinks she's in a box. I don't know. So maybe that's why they've got her just spinning around in a circle. But I think there was something going on with their back end to where the actual camera movements and the prompt itself were getting mixed up and confused. But as you can see right here, this image didn't have that issue. And this was also a no prompt example. So as I said, maybe it had something to do with the image itself, because basically with this particular image, it just kept doing that over and over again. And this was the last time I tried it. Same thing. The character's just spinning around in a circle. Don't know what was going on with that. This was another instance within that small window of time to where it seemed the prompt adherence just plummeted. You see that this simply says the knight strides confidently forward, and the knight does not do that. It just does a dolly zoom out, which is what that effect called for. And even with turning the prompt enhance on, same thing, just got the dolly out without the knight moving. And actually pretty much all of these rolls was the exact same thing until I went into their Discord server and made a big stink about it. And then after about a day or so, I came back and tried very simple prompts, and then we got things working like they should again. And another thing I will add very quickly is that I've found that if you're going to do your own prompting, rather than just saying something like tracking camera and then what the action is, it's better to kind of flow the camera movement a bit differently. So as as you see, this says the camera follows the knight as he walks at a normal pace. And out of all of those generations, this was the best generation that I got. And to just return to this example right here, that's when I started using that different style of prompting when I was doing my manual prompting, rather than just using something like tracking camera and then say she floats forward, blah, blah, blah. I started saying the camera follows her, or maybe the camera pulls out. So just some things to keep in mind. So that's it, guys. What are your thoughts about this new image to video generation tool that seems to be very tuned for independent filmmaking, more so than any other platform that I've seen, because it actually speaks the language that we would use within motion pictures to begin with. Some of these obviously are going to be more suited for things like rap videos or music videos, but just by viewing these various examples that they've given you, it should be very clear which motions are going to be what you'd want to use within your AI cinematic short films. And they definitely have more in store, because there are some camera angles that are not here, like a static camera or a truck left or a truck right, things like that. And what they have in their Discord server is a form that you can fill out requesting any camera movements that aren't here that you think that they should add. And I'm pretty sure at some point we're going to get 10-second videos and 1080p, but in my opinion, so far so good. As always, let me know your thoughts in the comments below this video, and if you got any value from this walkthrough, this tutorial, be sure to subscribe to the channel and hit the like button so that you can let YouTube know to alert you to any future videos from this channel like this. So once again, my name's Paul Maximus. Thanks for checking out this video. Please join me in the next one.